After opening statements, we're going to have 2 rounds of questions. The first is a set of questions that the Western Wake Republican Board has put together, and I'm going to draw them out of patriotically themed hats, and we'll go right down the line with 1 question per person. We then will have a second round of questions that are questions that you all, as members of the club, submitted, and we're going to have, for each of those rounds, candidates, you'll have 1 minute to answer those questions. We're then going to end with a 1-minute closing statement for each candidate. Candidates, do you understand those ground rules? I like to see the nodding heads, because what you're probably going to hear from me tonight is a lot of thank you, Mr. or Miss So-and-so, when your time is up. I'm going to introduce Heather Swift, our timekeeper. She is the most important person in the room right now. Up here, we're going to try to keep things moving, so please respect the time. I will interrupt you and cut you off, but we're going to have a good time tonight. The last point, this is a forum. The questions you're going to hear about are substantive. They're about issues. We don't have enough time to really get into a debate. We're not going to have a chance to have rebuttals and back and forth, but the candidates, you can use your allotted time however you see fit. And with that, finally, I just want to say that throughout the evening, if there's any issues that come up from anybody, I know we're really crowded, you can let us know, but we're going to try to go straight through. We anticipate this will probably take about 90 minutes if we keep everybody on time, which I see the nodding heads we're going to do. And with that, I'm going to invite Mr. Chris Baker. We're going to start that in with your 2-minute opening statement, and we're going to go right down the line, and I'm going to hand you a microphone to get started, and would invite that you, or would just ask that you would please pass this along right down the line.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here. My name's Chris Baker. I'm a commercial truck driver. I see a lot of things that happen in our community, the goods, the bads, and what I'd like to do is put America's best interests first. That's why I'm running for Congress. I see that even in District 13, we've got a lot of programs that people's jobs depend on, staying employed, and the health and safety and security of things. I actually live in the district, grew up in the district, was born in this district. So if you send me to Washington, it's like protecting the homeland. You always protect the people that you grew up with, the people that you played t-ball with, the people that gave you a great education here. If I had a priority of what I would like to do, if I can when I get to Congress, is hopefully have a constitutional amendment to balance the budget. When we operate at a $2 trillion deficit each budget, it seems like, it keeps increasing and increasing. We are just passing the buck along to the future generations of not being able to provide services for the people. We live in a republic that should be a representative of the people, and it needs to continue to have to keep America great.
All right, thank you, Mr. Baker. If you'll pass that along to DeVan Barbour. And DeVan, before you start, candidates, if you have your name tag handy, as some other candidates have done, I recommend you put it down by your feet, and that way people can kind of see who you are and keep tabs on your name. And we'll give you a second to do that. We're not going to eat into your time, DeVan. I see you, Nancy, over there. That's looking pretty good, huh? Thank you. All right, with that, DeVan Barbour, the floor is yours. 2 minutes.
Well, good evening. First off, thank you, Ms. Joyner and the Western Wake Republican Party for putting this together. Y'all always have an amazing crowd, and it's always great to be here. My name's DeVan Barbour. I'm a devout Christian, a lifelong Republican, a husband to my amazing wife, Brittany, and a father blessed with 2 children, Lainey, Kate, and Van. I live in this district. I was born in this district, raised in this district, and I will die in this district, and that's why this race is personal. I'm running for Congress because I love my country and I love my children. And with a wide open border, out of control spending, inflation through the roof, I'm not sure what this nation will look like for my children if somebody doesn't go up there and do something about it. Our nation's on a track that doesn't work for everyday Americans. A $100 bill ought to get you more than 2 bags at a grocery store, shouldn't it? Well, to fix problems for everyday Americans, it's going to take an everyday American. I'm proud to be a candidate for this office, and I'd appreciate the opportunity to represent you all in Washington, D.C., so that we can get this country back on track. We can secure our border, we can cut the spending, and we can get this country back where it was under President Trump. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Daughtry.
Thank you. There are millions of illegal immigrants coming through our border. There are food, the inflation is through the roof. We don't have money for our gas and our food, and if we do, we certainly don't have any money left over. We have a president who is more interested in political witch hunt than he is in trying to fix these problems. I am from this district. I grew up in Johnston County and actually in Wake County as well. I was born in Johnston County, but my parents separated, and so I moved up to Raleigh and split time between the two. Went to schools in Wake County and understand the growth that is going through and how this county has changed. I have practiced law for the past 27 years in Johnston County, and in that, I have fought for families, farmers, and small businesses. I have literally worked with over 1,500 families. I keep a box so I know, put the numbers on those boxes so I know. And by working with those families, I know the struggles that they are having. And that is another reason that I am running, is because I see the struggles. I see the everyday where they can't, the inflation, where they can't pay for their gas and their groceries. I've worked with them at vulnerable times, and I want to go to D.C. and continue to work for them and work for them in a different way. If my top priority, we have so many things we need to do. The Biden administration has put forth so many crazy policies that we've got a lot of work to do. But mainly, I think the first thing, if I had to choose, would be inflation. The inflation must stop. We have a $340 trillion debt. Last year, we paid $660 billion for interest. We've got to do something about that. We can't continue to make fake money and not balance our budget. I appreciate everyone being here today and giving me the opportunity to introduce myself. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Dellinger.
Good evening. My name is Marcus Dellinger. I'm a project manager for a commercial construction company, and I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives in District 13. I'm running because I believe out of all of the issues we face, one of our main issues is our number one issue, is the rot and destruction of our country caused by the administrative state. Thomas Jefferson once said, "When a republic is corrupted, there is no possibility of remedying any sort of growing evils, but by removing corruption and restoring its lost principles, every other correction is useless or for a new evil." I stand before you as a registered Republican. I voted Republican down the ballot all my life. But for over a year, Republicans have had a majority of the House, and take a look at where we are. Our border is still open. Our economy is a disaster. Just on Thursday, Speaker Johnson signed another continuing resolution with $1.66 trillion in spending, basically no cuts. And then on Friday, they took a snow day. To give you an idea of the magnitude of this spending, 1 trillion seconds is roughly equivalent to 32,000 years. Our infrastructure is crumbling, our power grid and communication systems are compromised, and we're still sending hundreds of billions of dollars overseas, and our soldiers are being killed in countries most people can't find on a map. I do believe the Republican Party is the better choice. What is the common denominator amongst all of these problems? It is the administrative state. It's a hard pill to swallow that our government has been completely overthrown by a tyrannical, unelected, bureaucratic individuals that have burrowed themselves deep inside the government. I believe, as Jefferson said, if we do not root out these individuals, we will have little to no remedy in any other issues.
All right, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Dellinger. Appreciate it. Time's up. Mr. Knott?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brad Knott. It is a privilege to be here. I do not live in the district. I probably live, as the crow flies, maybe 3 miles outside the district. For most of my professional career, I was a prosecutor with the United States Attorney's Office. I worked all throughout this district, all throughout North Carolina, and had cases that really expanded beyond North Carolina. I had a front row seat working with local law enforcement and federal law enforcement across every level to see just how horrible the government is doing at its number one responsibility. What is the number one responsibility of government? Protecting the citizenry. Every case I had was impacted by illegal immigration and the open border. All of us have seen crime exploding over the last 3 years. What happened 3 years ago? Joe Biden took office. I saw firsthand how his policies have ushered in thousands and thousands and thousands of criminals. They affect you, they affect me, they affect every community across the country. Mr. Mayorkas will say, we can't help it. That's a lie. Mr. Mayorkas will say, we have no options. That is a lie. I've seen those options exercised by the Biden administration that have resulted in nearly 100,000 Americans a year dying of fentanyl. It's disgusting. I've seen how his administration has withdrawn support of local law enforcement. It's wretched. If I'm elected and I have the privilege of serving you in Congress, I will restore focus to the number one responsibility of the federal government, which is what? Protecting the United States citizen. We'll secure the border, we'll back law enforcement, and we will get a handle on the exploding crime across this district, across North Carolina, and across the country. Thank you.
Mr. Von Loor.
Good evening. My name is Steve Von Loor. I run for Congress in 2018 against David Price. When he won re-election, I sat down on the Hill and I observed, I learned, and I prepared for this moment. Right now, I stand before you running for Congress again because the issues that we have are in decline and we need to fight for our children. I was a resident of the 4th and the 13th, and I call North Carolina my home since 1998. My priority is to empower the blue collar to get taxes and get the energy independence. What I mean with that, if we reduce taxes, we can get better money in our pockets. And if we fight inflation, stop sending money to Ukraine, we will have a better outcome for our children. And we need to stop the oil cartel by producing our own oil, by opening the XL Keystone pipeline that will create more jobs to the American people. That's why I'm running for Congress. Running for Congress. And I said, I am a white trash because I will fight for those people who need representation. Thank you very much.
Dr. McConkey.
Howdy, folks. Josh McConkey. This race is going to be very simple. You have 14 qualified candidates up here, and you have to narrow this down to who actually has leadership skills, who can actually stand up to the left and these rhino Republicans that have stole us down the river and refuse to address border security, financial security. I'm going to tell you, I'm an emergency physician. I've practiced medicine for 20 years. You trust me with your lives every single day, you and your families. I'm a commander at Andrews Air Force Base. I command 120 men and women warfighters for the United States Air Force. I was a Duke professor. I was a special operations medical director. I have done this. I am the only candidate up here who has actually led. I've led men and women in combat. I'm nobody special, okay? Those titles mean nothing without substance and service. And that's what this race is going to be about. that service. This campaign is about security, safety, service. I'm going to hammer that over and over. I was the first in this race to endorse President Donald Trump. I was the first to ask everyone else in this race, in that presidential race, to get out and clear the field, because I'm the one that deals with this border issue and these drugs coming across that border. I have actually talked to parents and cried with them when their children have died. And Donald Trump, I assure you, has done this. He doesn't have to prove anything. He will secure this border. Together, I need your help. Go to joshmcconkey.com. God bless each and every one of you. We will take this district back. Thank you.
Mr. Sharma?
How many of y'all here are veterans today? That's what I'm talking about. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your services. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Siddhanth Sharma, and I'm running here for Congress in District 13. I was born in North Carolina, and I lived in District 13 my entire life. So why am I running? Besides seeing President Biden right now run this country into the ground, I've noticed there's something else going on here, and it is called incompetence and corruption, and our district is filled with it right now. We have several candidates, even speaking today, who do not live in the district, and I have to say one thing. If they are too chicken to run in their own districts, how can you expect them to fight for you in Congress? If they are only running in this district for an easy way in, then it is an absolute disaster. They will bow down to the uniparty, no doubt. And I'll leave it at that right there. Coming back to me, I've lived here my entire life. I grew up in Wake Forest. If you guys look at the previous maps, Wake Forest was always in District 13. And when I moved to Garner, turns out that was also District 13. They changed the maps there also. So I kept figuring out, I said, hey, District 13 is not leaving me. So I took that there as a sign. So therefore, I decided to run here for Congress. And here I am now. So I want to go here, rock and roll, knock this here out of the park, and let's see how this all goes out. Other than that, due to this format, we're only allowed to say our #1 priority, and my #1 priority is beating this here inflation. As an accountant, there is no one else you want to send to Congress but me to help lower your taxes, lower your business taxes, lower that gas, and lower all costs. Well, I guess that's my time is up, and thank you all for hearing me out.
Mr. Shoemaker.
Good evening. Thanks very much for having us. My name is Matt Shoemaker. I actually live in Clayton in Johnston County. And until about 6 months ago, I was on active duty with the Navy as an intelligence officer running intelligence operations against the Russians and the Chinese, something I've been doing for almost 10 years at this point. And the reason I left was because of the amount of wokeness that had permeated the military under Joe Biden. Nowadays, I'm a military and national security expert for Fox News and Newsmax, and I write for various different publications around the world, such as Times of Israel, Newsweek, and just had a feature in USA Today, so it was pretty cool. But I am running for Congress now as a former intelligence officer to defund stupidity and to send intelligence to DC, because God knows they need it. Absolutely. Now, one of the things, though, that makes me qualified for this is I was so incredibly proud just in the past week or so to get a number of endorsements from current and former Green Berets, Navy SEALs, and Army Rangers. So to have the Special Operations Forces support just means the world to me, but the one endorsement that means the most is yours. That's the endorsement that I want to get. And the reason that they endorse me is because they know I'm going to be a force to be reckoned with in Washington. They know that because I live it. You might have heard that 231 service members contacted the Joint Chiefs recently demanding accountability of the Joint Chiefs for how they treated the armed forces during COVID, where they kicked out 9,000 service members with dishonorable discharges and denied 36,000 religious exemptions. I was one of those individuals calling for that accountability. I was putting myself out on the line and putting my reputation and my career on the line. What we've got to tackle in Washington is the economy, because everyone here in this room and everyone listening to my voice knows the frustration and anxiety when they go to the grocery store and look at the receipts. So I am Matt Shoemaker. Take a look at my website, votemjs.com, and let's send intelligence to DC.
Mr. Stevenson.
I like participation. I love teachers. How's everybody doing? Good? All right. My name is Eric Stevenson. I'm running for Congress. I am from North Carolina. I grew up in a small farm town called Vanceboro, North Carolina, with my grandmother. We did farming, hunting, and all of the above. I loved living there because in the country, you can have a gun with no problem. You move to the city, it's a problem. You get pulled over with a gun rack in the country, no problem. You get pulled over with a gun in the city, it's a problem. But I lived with my grandmother with my two siblings, and we had a little outhouse behind the house. We grew up very poor, but my grandmother worked very hard, driving a school bus and cleaning clothes for different families in the town. I moved with my mother in 4th grade to Durham, North Carolina, to the inner city, where we slept on the floor. We didn't have furniture. A lot of days we went to school just to eat. But what I'll tell you, my mother worked very hard, and I'm a born-again believer, I'm a Christian, and through faith and hard work, we climbed out of poverty. And I know that this give you anything culture that the Democrat culture has created is dangerous. It's absolutely dangerous. Along with DEI is dangerous. Everything that I've gotten in my life, I earned it. Not because I was black, because I was the best candidate, because I was the hardest worker. And I joined the Navy. I did 20 years in the Navy. And I remember being 18 years old off the coast of Iraq, launching 13 Tomahawk missiles. So I've been in war, and I've lost friends in war. I lost friends that died in Iraq. I'm running for them. And I live in District 13 in Harnett County. I'm one of you. You're my friends, you're my neighbors. I have a 4 and a 10-year-old daughter, and I refuse to have boys in the locker room, and I refuse to have pornography in books. Somebody has to fight. And the last thing I'll say is that I love you guys. I love you guys. You can't love something that you don't live in. I live in District 13, and I love you, and I'm gonna be supporting whoever the candidate is, whoever you guys choose. But please choose wisely, because my wife and my kids deserve a fighting chance, and right now we don't have one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Mr. Von Cannon.
First, Sandy, thanks. Where are you? There you are. You have a great group. I always love coming out here and seeing what you put together, and you always do a great job of it. My name is Fred Von Cannon. I was born in North Carolina. My family came to North Carolina in the 1750s, so we're pretty native. And I live in the district, to check that box, and this is home for me. We live in the greatest state in the greatest country in the world. So I am a businessman. I have over 100 employees. I know what it's like to be the last person paid. I know what it's like to deal with regulations when you're dealing with business and government. I'm a veteran. I served 8 years in the Navy as a non-commissioned officer and a commissioned officer in Ronald Reagan's time. It was such an honor to have Ronald Reagan as my commander-in-chief. We do have a lot of problems. You'll hear some of them. I think our biggest problem that we're dealing with is the fact that we send the wrong people to Washington to deal with our problems. We have to send people up there who are willing to serve, who understand what that means, who are qualified, and are just going to stand firm. We've got a border that's wide open. We don't have the luxury of dealing with Ukraine's border because we have to deal with ours. We've got fentanyl coming across, leading cause of death, 100,000 people a year. We've got human trafficking coming. We've got illegal aliens by the millions. And we've got terrorists coming across. We have to deal with our border. 30 seconds left. What am I going to say? Well, again, the biggest thing I think that you guys should be evaluating when you hear us is who's going to go and stand and be firm in what they say they're going to do instead of going up there and caving to the D.C. I can tell you that Riley Gaines doesn't do that. She doesn't cave. Tommy Tuberville doesn't cave. NC Values doesn't cave on the issues. The Freedom Caucus doesn't cave on the issues. And I've just listed 4 of the several that are endorsing my campaign. My name is Fred Von Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Von Cannon. Mr. Zhu.
Foundations. That's what built this country. That's what built North Carolina. I am proud to stand on the foundations of the country and the state that we've built. And the country and the state that you have worked so hard for in North Carolina, whether it's electing state U.S. Representative Greg Murphy to take on the Chinese collusion in the international students in our country, whether it's electing State Rep Aaron Perret to take on the lowered standards in our schools in Wake County, You have worked so hard for the country and the state that we are building. Now I have made my own contribution. I was the leader, the key board member, and the media advocate to take on the racist college admissions at Harvard and UNC. And I advocate on behalf of a colorblind society every day. So you may ask, Kenny, why are you even running for Congress? You don't even live in the district. You live in Raleigh. And I say, because this is an opportunity right now, and this is a unique opportunity. I mean, we might as well say we shouldn't even have this debate at Sophie's because Sophie's is not in the district. But I would say we have an opportunity, a unique opportunity in this country to create the best qualified leader and to restore meritocracy and colorblindness in our country. That's my #1 priority. I will take on the illegal immigration that prioritizes illegal immigrants over legal, hardworking citizens. I will restore a country based on merit, based on content of character, not the color of your skin. I'm Kenny Hsu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hsu. No, we'll just do this real quick. Hold on that mic, Kenny, because you're going to be up. And I know we asked this question. You can go ahead and sit down if you want, Mr. Hsu. So just for a show of hands, I know everyone how to address it. Can you raise your hand if you do live in the district, if you live within the current boundaries? Can you remember real quick? Everyone get a sense of that. All right, great. Thank you. All right, we're going to now move into the board question segment, and we're going to go into reverse order. So, Kenny, you're going to be first up. And these, again, are questions that were submitted by the Western Wake Republican Board. They're issue-based, and we're going to go kind of right down the line with individual questions, which I'm randomly selecting from, again, this beautiful American flag-themed hat. So the first question is for you, Mr. Hsu. Can you assess the recent performance of the current Democratic representative, Wiley Nickel, and if elected, how would you change direction from the direction that Mr. Nickel has led this district?
Well, the key word there is led. He hasn't led anything. Wiley Nickel imagines himself and fashions himself as an Obama protege. He's a trust fund kid who ran on his own money, and he married one of the wealthiest women in North Carolina, let's be honest here, and he decides to run on that. I fundraised my entire candidacy. I raised over $150,000 from people all over this country who are concerned about CRT, colorblindness, and illegal immigration. I have been endorsed by Governor Jim Martin, the former governor of North Carolina. I can bring to this table something Wiley Nickel can never bring, and that is sincere passion and hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Hsu. So our next question is going to be for Mr. Von Cannon. You can pass the mic along. Mr. Von Cannon, we heard a lot about inflation and economic challenges. The question for you is, what are your specific plans to promote economic growth in the Congressional District 13 geographic area?
Well, we have to address the big picture here, which President Trump did a great job of. You've got to cut tax. It's not cutting taxes, it's cutting tax rates. You've got to cut the rate that you pay taxes. You actually sometimes get more in taxes, but what you do is you unburden the people who are actually creating jobs. You get the money off the sidelines and back in, and you get a lot of people that are now producers instead of just sitting and waiting it out. We have to cut tax rates. That helps everybody in District 13 because it will improve the economy overall. The other thing that needs to be done in Congress is we need to get out of this continuing resolution omnibus cycle that we've gotten into. The Congress's own rules, the House's own rules, are they supposed to have all 12 appropriations bills over to the Senate by June 30th and voted on separately. We haven't done that in forever. We need to get back to good fiscal government and a balanced budget and lower tax rates.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Von Cannon. And just a reminder to the candidates, you have 1 minute to answer these questions. Mr. Stevenson, question for you. what can Congress do to better support our law enforcement, both at the federal, state, and local level?
First off, I think Sophie's is a great place for dinner and events, including catering, okay? Personally, money is everything. Our law enforcement needs the funds in order to get the job done. And right now, currently, our law enforcement is treated like the enemy. And I don't see Congress standing up fighting for that narrative to be changed. I see them sitting on their hands right now. They're not even being vocal. I'm talking about Republicans in Congress. They're not even being vocal about our law enforcement. Your congressperson is not going to come save you if someone kicks your door in. Your local police will. And we're going to make sure that there's always going to be funding for our local police. But more than anything, we need to change the narrative, and it can happen in Congress. Because right now, our police are treated like the enemy. And they're some of the best that we have, our military and our police. And I think funding and full pledge and support is going to change the narrative. Because you see people in the mall right now smashing grabs, right? And the police arrest them, what happens? They release them right back. Support our police. Back to blue.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Mr. Shoemaker, a question for you. And we heard this reference in the opening statements. Some colleges and universities have begun eliminating their DEI programs, while others seem to be pushing them. What is your stance on DEI, and how would you approach this in Congress?
DEI is modern Marxism. It's modern communism that is permeated into the education system, and we've allowed it, unfortunately, in the way that we have subsidized greed in our universities through all of that student loans that the universities now glean off the taxpayer for. What we can do about it is a fewfold. My plan, actually, is to tackle two things at once, DEI and the student loan crisis, and that is don't have the taxpayers pay off people's student loans. We have universities pay off student loans. If they're going to price gouge students and turn them into indentured servants for the rest of their lives because they can't, their degrees aren't worth their weight in salt what they're printed on, then they need to have skin in the game, and they need to be held responsible for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shoemaker. Mr. Sharma, we've had some talk about the economy. What steps, if elected to Congress, would you take to support small businesses and job creators in District 13?
So what I would do, coming here to business taxes, I would offer a special 2-year term where any business pays no more than 10% taxes. Coming on here, you know, I also want to lower taxes also for gas companies, even coming all the way down here to the gas station. Lowering taxes and tax rates in all the brackets makes the entire world go round. When every company has more money, what do? They invest. That creates jobs. And then with jobs, creates lives. And with lives, you got family, and the whole world starts going round. Under President Trump, we had the #1 drilling nation in this entire country. We can definitely bring it back. It's very simple. Let's start looking to our own. Forget foreign nations. Let's start imposing tariffs on nations that want to sell us their oil. Let's start looking back here to America and start bringing our money back and circulating it here into our communities.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sharma. Dr. McConkey, we've heard discussions about various priorities. The question for you is, looking specifically at Congressional District 13, what are the most pressing issues that you see for this region geographically that you would like to work on if you're elected to Congress?
Absolutely. And just real quick, I want to address the question about living in the district. My entire life is in Holly Springs. My barber's in Holly Springs. My wife teaches in Holly Springs. My kids go to school there. My house is in Apex. So that's clear. The district, in this district, every state is a border state. So when you talk about that unsecured border, those drugs, they don't stop in Texas, okay? They come right to our emergency departments. They're killing, it's 120,000 Americans a year. More than double of what we lost in the entire Vietnam War. Okay, there's 58,183 names on the Vietnam Memorial. We're killing double that every single year, and they are doing absolutely nothing. Mayorkas, those policies that he's enacting for Biden is putting every single American in danger, and Donald Trump will fix that issue. So it's that border.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. McConkey. Mr. Von Loor, question for you. How do we keep government out out of our private corporations and businesses when it seems to be growing every day?
Well, in order to do that, we need to elect people that they are going to fight for the people instead of the establishment elite. Because when we have people that they are in bed with establishment, those are the ones that they are running the country. If we don't have people with common sense, we cannot have a country without regulations.
All right, thank you, Mr. Van Loor. Mr. Knott, for the last several years, we in the United States have had divided government. Can you describe a time when you had to compromise on an issue, and how did you navigate that?
Wow, that's a great question. You know, I'll say that as a prosecutor under the Biden White House, we had to abide by a lot of the policies that were pushed forward. We had to abide by some of the regulations that came down from the White House that made it harder to charge people. We had to justify charging people even if the evidence supported that. And the way that I dealt with that was continuing to investigate as long as I could, working with local and federal law enforcement, bringing as many serious charges as I could to my bosses to get approval, and advocating with everything I had to charge these criminals and to abide by the policy, but to get the charges that the evidence supported. So was it a compromise? Sometimes I got a thumbs down, but often we were able to succeed and push through despite the regulations that were put on us. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Knott. Mr. Dellinger, we've talked about economy, we've talked about jobs and small businesses. How will you curtail the impending growth in the tax burden?
Well, we need to conduct a yearly audit of congressional spending every year to make sure that every dollar allocated goes exactly where it's supposed to go. We all know that there is massive waste and fraud within our government spending. And by conducting audits every year, that is the only way that we're going to be able to figure out where everything goes, where we can cut, and where we might even need to fund more. When we save money, that is obviously going to go back into either our pockets or into programs that will benefit us as a country and within this district.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Dellinger. Ms. Daughtry, the question for you. We send our representatives up to Washington to work on these issues, but we remain as constituents back home. What are your plans or thoughts on engaging your constituents after elected, and how would you keep them engaged?
Well, I have built my life here in this district, and if I go to D.C., I'm spending as much time in the district as I am as much time in my district in Johnston County, in Wake County, in this area, as I am in D.C. I have a life here, and I want to hear from the people in this district. It is important that your representative represents you and fights for you. That is what is most important. We fight for our country, but we also fight for our district. We will have lots of field reps. I will listen to anyone at all times. I will answer my telephone. I want to hear from the district. I want to live in the district, and I want to do everything I can for the district.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Daughtry. Mr. Barbour, you mentioned having 2 young children. Yep. I've got 3 of my own. Ooh. What will you do to better protect our minor children from the social justice agenda that's being pushed by many, including in our schools?
Yeah, that's an easy one. Thank you for teeing that one up. I'll consider this to be rigged, and thank you for that. We need to take the Parents' Bill of Rights to Washington and pass it to cover the entire United States of America. Period. We need to walk over to the Department of Education, ask them for the keys to the front door, escort everyone out, and shut the building down. The only role the federal government should do in education is funding. Thank you. And we should do all that we can to ensure that parents have as much control and oversight of children's education as humanly possible. With an 8-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy, I'm scared to death of the day that my little girl comes home with some of this mess. Because I'll tell you how we handle that in Johnston County later on. Thank you for that question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barbour. And Mr. Baker, the last question of this round. What attributes, behaviors, and importantly, ethics do you think are essential for our members of Congress?
Honesty, telling the truth, even if it hurts. What we have now, going on in Congress, is we're making false promises to you. And in the end of the day, whenever we don't follow through, we get tore up in the elections. So it's best to be honest, transparent. If there's a problem, admit to it. Get out there and work on a solution. That's what our voters are wanting us to do, fix the problem. And now, Brian, thank you for that question.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Baker. We're now going to change patriotically themed hats to our club member questions that were submitted by our club members. And Mr. Baker, you hold on to that mic because we're going to come right back down the line this way. And you're going to let me open this up. Now, I'll tell you that our member questions are a little more interesting in some ways, so I certainly look forward to your responses. We haven't talked about this issue yet. I look forward to hearing what you have to say, Mr. Baker. Energy independence is important for national security, but President Biden continues to restrict drilling for oil, which could also lead to price shocks, as we've all seen at the gas pump. What is your view on what can be done to help turn the course before we experience a true energy crisis?
Mine is to start drilling American oil. I mean, we could reduce the prices of oil from that. Also, what I ran into, because I've also pulled fuel out of the Smithfield terminals, which is in our district. And then with Southern Wake County, we have fuel terminals there. So we also run into supply logistics with what we had several years back. We had a cybersecurity attack. So whenever we get around to putting funding to make sure that our infrastructure for the pipelines throughout our whole country is secure, it'll keep gas low. So, because if we have any interruptions, it's going to raise the energy cost.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Mr. Baker. Mr. Barbour, you're up next.
Right, another softball.
This is a real non-controversial question within the United States debate.
Fantastic.
Should the U.S. continue to support Ukraine's fight against Russia?
No, I don't think so. No, we shouldn't. Yeah, you like that? That's a good question. No, we're $34 trillion in debt. If we can't secure our own borders, we shouldn't worry about securing other people's borders. I think we have to look after home first. We have to secure our borders, we have to get our spending under control, and we have to take care of America first. So to answer that question, if we can't take care of our own borders, we shouldn't worry about Ukraine's.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barbour. Ms. Daughtry, this question is for you, and this is a question that I would encourage all of the candidates to consider. If you are not elected, and only one of the 12 of you or the other candidates in the race will be, if you're not elected, what do you plan to do to continue to support and help the Republican Party? And particularly, how are you going to help Republicans in Wake County and throughout North Carolina?
I will support any one of these, and we have lots of good candidates that are running. Any candidate that is successful is going to have my full support. I will work for them. I will work for any candidate that is on the Republican ballot. I will work for any candidate that Wake County chooses or Johnston County chooses or any other county that we choose. I'm going to work for them. I'm going to be involved and continue to help the Republican Party any way I can, which is the most important thing. We all want the same thing. We want our country to succeed. We want this state to do well. We want to protect our children. We all want the same thing, and I will continue to work for that.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Daughtry. Mr. Dellinger, another question moving back to international affairs. What do you see as the United States' role in the Israel-Palestine conflict?
I don't think that there's anything wrong with providing aid to Israel, but this all comes back to the America First ideology. We have to take care of our own people inside our own house before we send, hundreds of billions of dollars, troops. We just had 2 Navy SEALs killed during an operation in the Red Sea just this last week. I'm not saying that we should not be there, but our focus is clearly not within our own borders. They're way more concerned about what's happening internationally than what's happening here in the United States. So again, I'm not against providing aid, but we need to clean up our own house first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dellinger. Next question for you, Mr. Knott. We've had some discussion about this tonight. Do you think the Department of Education, the Federal Department of Education, should be eliminated? And if so, how should all of the funding for that department be redirected?
Thank you, John. I absolutely do. We built the strongest country in the history of the world. We won 2 world wars, and we became the preeminent source of good that the world has ever known without the Department of Education. If you think about the Department of Education, its basic premise is remove tax dollars from this district, fund a massive bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., buildings full of 6-figure salaries, pensions, retirement, and then they get to set curriculums, set incentives, and set how we try to educate our children in this district. It's disgusting. There's roughly, I think, $90 billion in the Department of Education budget. It should be immediately returned to the states. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. All right, Mr. Von Loor, we've heard a lot of talk tonight about the border and the significant amount of illegal immigrants that are crossing the border daily. What specific policies do you propose or support to strengthen our border and to help the state deal with the influx of illegal immigrants?
Well, we need to go back to build the wall. Immigration has to be controlled with the legalization of, let me put it this way. I did everything by law. Why we need to give the free pass to anyone else? Why we are receiving refugees who are being given money for free while we have homeless in our streets? So we need to protect our people first, and we need to secure our border and make everything legal and check the background of everyone coming inside of the U.S.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Von Loor. All right, Dr. McConkey, as we can all see with our own eyes, there are a number of candidates running for this district. Everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses. Why do you think you're more electable than your opponents, and what are your strengths that you feel like you'll bring to bear?
Boy, perfect timing on that question. The only reason I'm standing here, I would be very remiss if I didn't, when I talked about all those fancy titles earlier, the only ones that matter to me are father, husband, and Christian. So I want to say hello to my wife, Elsa, tonight, and Luca and Gabriel and Alexandria and all those people at home. I think, so the question was, what am I going to bring to the district? Relatability, integrity. I have a book out, Be the Weight Behind the Spear. All right, that book is about getting Americans to engage in their communities. The best resource in this country is each and every one of you. It's our people, coaches, teachers, mentors, families. That is what matters. That's what sets us apart. And that is what's going to take back to Washington to solve these problems. And I'm going to do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. McConkey. Mr. Sharma, do you believe that the federal government has a role in setting abortion limits, or should it be left exclusively to the purview of the states?
I'm glad you asked that question. Coming here to abortion, the matter is precisely back where it is, to the states. However, though, I have seen something wrong happen. Some states, actually kind of a lot, about maybe 10 of them, 15 of them, they don't provide exceptions for rape or incest or to save the life of the mother. And it is becoming increasingly scary now, where I just saw what recently happened here in Texas, where a woman who wanted to get an abortion, it was a planned pregnancy, but she was going to have, the fetus was not viable. Texas said that she couldn't end up getting that. So upon coming to Congress, I want to start at least mandate a law where all states have to require that there must be exceptions for rape, incest, and to save the life of the mother.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sharma. Mr. Shoemaker, in the last 3+ years, there has been a lot of discussion about election integrity. What is your position on mail-in ballots being misused in elections, and what specific steps would you take to prevent the misuse of such mail-in ballots?
I think mail-in ballots are useful when it comes to those who are service members serving overseas and for the elderly who can't get to the ballots, and that they need to be requested by the voter before it's sent to them. That's what I think about mail-in ballots. With regards to election integrity, I think North Carolina has done a good job in the past 12 months to help secure election integrity. We still got work to do. There are over 100 forms of personal identification that can be used at the polls right now in North Carolina. And that's a little bit too much for me, considering how easy it is to get some of those IDs. And that is a wonderful excuse that the Democrats can use to exploit the loopholes. So that's what we can do to tackle it, and I am absolutely in favor of tackling election integrity. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Shoemaker. Mr. Stevenson, by the luck of the draw, the next question is election integrity. It is a heightened concern, a little bit we just heard about with mail-in ballots. We talked about mail-in ballots. What more or other specific policies do you believe we can do to restore all Americans' faith in our elections?
Great question. It starts in this room right here. We need more observers at the polls, right? The people in this room, you don't have to vote to become an observer. You need to raise your right hand and volunteer to observe elections. That's really where the rubber meets the road. We can make all kinds of laws, but we need people, neighbors, friends, aunts, uncles, grandmothers at the polls watching what's going on. 'Cause we already know what has already happened before, and we got caught slipping. We're not going to get caught slipping this time. We're going to be present at the polls. So just to clearly state, what really needs to be done is ground level, grassroots, you, me, and others at the polls, making sure no more funny business occurs.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Stevenson. Mr. Von Cannon, what steps would you take to help guide our nation's K-12 public schools back onto an academic path? And specifically, how would you work to eliminate race-based curriculum and pornographic books in our public schools?
Well, the first part of that is that when you have competition in anything, we could fix healthcare and education overnight if we let real competition in. So we have to have competition come into the education system. And if you've got a public school right here and a charter school or a private school jumps in right here, and that school is either going to get better or close, and I'm fine with either one. We've got to introduce competition into the space so that we have a motivation for improving. What was the second part of the question?
Pornographic books in schools and race-based curricula.
Close the Department of Education. Don't send the money back. We should never be sending it. Those billions of dollars should never even leave our hands. They should be here, and we should be dealing with schools at the localist level possible, which in a lot of cases is at the family and doing homeschool. But whatever that is, it should be handled at the local level.
Thank you, Mr. Von Cannon. Mr. Zhu, the last question here from our members. There's been recent legal wrangling about the definitions in Title IX to include gender identity. Do you think that Title IX should be amended to include gender identity? And if not, how would you fight against efforts like that in Congress?
No, because God made two genders, male and female. And let me expand upon that and say, as your congressman, one of the first things that I'm going to do is I'm going to instantiate and sponsor a national colorblindness law. I've written about it in the New York Post. You can read about it. But the first thing that we have to do, we have to update our civil rights law right now. In our society right now, under the current DEI regime, and it will continue to happen if we do not update our civil rights law and the jurisprudence that goes with it, because our jurisprudence has favored unfairly African Americans for much, much too long. There is a time and a place to do it. It must end.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Zhu. So we're now going to move into our time of our closing statements. We're actually doing really well on time, so I'm going to call an audible. You're only supposed to get a minute, but I'm going to give you 90 seconds. You're welcome. Everyone can cheer for the extra 30 seconds. So everyone has 90 seconds. We're going to start with Mr. Zhu. We're going to go back down the line, and this is your 90 seconds to make your closing statement to end our forum. Mr. Zhu, the floor is yours.
There are many good candidates here. There are many candidates who have given contributions. I have made my own contribution. I will continue to make contributions to the party and the betterment of America, no matter what the result is. But I ask for your vote because this is a unique opportunity right here. This is an opportunity to end CRT and DEI for good. This is an opportunity to go to Martin Luther King's dream of a society where people are treated on the basis of the content of your character, not the color of their skin. This is an opportunity to reform the education system so that we have merit at the center of the locus of our achievement. This is an opportunity for the child of immigrants to come up and stand up against illegal immigration, secure the border for you, and be the most effective advocate you can be to the next generation possible for America, for an America that preserves the American dream, that says, if you work hard and you come here legally, you will and you can succeed. I am the emblem of that. I am the child of that. And I will advocate that for you because I love America. And I am asking you to invest in me, not just this term, but so that I could complete a congressional tenure that will make you proud. I'm Kenny Hsu for Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hsu. Mr. Von Cannon.
I grew up different than most. We had nothing growing up. Literally nothing. Wore the same clothes to school every day because that's the only clothes we had. Never had a birthday party, never had a Christmas party. The first toothbrush I ever owned was issued to me in boot camp as a 19-year-old. I know what it's like to come from literally nothing. I grew up on farms. I understand the rural small town life. I understand what it's like to have nothing. But through God's grace, joined the Navy. They paid for my degree. Through hard work and God's grace, was able to build a business. Now I'm a veteran, a business owner. I think that when you're looking for someone to represent you, look for someone with the conservative values, with the background that's varied enough to represent you. But most important, find someone that you believe that when it comes down to it, is actually going to do what they say they're going to do. And that is what I propose to you that I will do. This is the greatest country God ever created. This is the greatest state in the greatest country. And if they ever turn the lights out on this country, I don't want to be sitting on the couch wishing I'd have done something. I'm going to fight with every breath that I have, and I pray you support me. We've got a country to save.
Thank you, Mr. Von Cannon. Mr. Stevenson.
How can you love what you don't live in? I live in District 13, and I take District 13 very seriously, and I love this place. I love North Carolina. I love growing up in rural Vanceboro. I love the farming community. But right now, I'm an entrepreneur with a one-car transportation company, and I put stuff back on the shelf at the grocery store. I do. I have friends and neighbors that do. Is Social Security going to be there for many of us? We don't have the answer to that. Integrity matters in Congress. We got so many sex scandals going on that they can't even vote like conservatives. That is true. One thing about me, been married for 18 years, I follow God's plan. And I'm not going to take gold bars, and I'm not going to take brown envelopes under the table, and I won't be at the sex parties. You can bet that. You can bet that. We need representation. See, this is a constitution. Our country is being ran like a democracy right now. That's what the problem is. You can do anything, say anything, be anything, boys in the locker room. You can do anything you want to do. Those days are going to be over with because we're going to send integrity to D.C. And my faith in God and my family trust me, and I want you, my neighbors that live in District 13, you can trust me. And the day that you can't trust me, the day y'all be packed up and going back home. And again, I want to say I love you, District 13, my neighbors. Eric Stevenson for Congress.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. Mr. Shoemaker.
Thank you. Well, in listening to all these statements, I remember what President Reagan used to say, which is the solutions to so many of our problems are simple, but they're not easy. That's what this really comes down to. It's simple solutions, but they're not easy. And in terms of my own candidacy, I think of the quote from the Bible of, by their fruits ye shall know them. And the reason I bring that up is because, being a veteran, unfortunately, I can't pump hundreds of thousands of dollars into my own campaign. I can't do as much as fund as much as I can, but what I have funded was money I was going to buy a house for. That's how much I believe in myself in this campaign. That's how much I believe in District 13, and that's how much I believe in you. And I'll leave you with this one last thought, and it's something that we haven't really talked about yet tonight, and it is that it's time for the torch to be passed to a new generation of Americans. The time is coming to an end where we have the Maxine Waters of the world who are asking for their copies of the Facebook and such in Washington. I don't have a whole lot of faith that she's going to craft some really useful legislation on the topic. So these solutions are going to come from the next generation. It's our time to step up and take care of you because you've given so much to us. Thank you very much. I'm Matt Shoemaker, and let's send intelligence to D.C.
Thank you, Mr. Shoemaker. Mr. Sharma.
Y'all want somebody who will lower your taxes, lower your business taxes? You want somebody who will lower your gas prices, keep a balanced budget? Elect Siddhanth Sharma to Congress. I'm also the only candidate who's doing the job for free and donating the salary. To be a service to your country is to volunteer, and to volunteer is to do the job for free. I cannot stand corruption, and I won't be deterred by one penny. I'm only here to be a service to the district. And with that, I'm going to end it on a real short note. I'd like to thank Western Wake for hosting this event, letting all of us come here and get these ideas out. It is truly a blessing to be here in front of all you great people. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming here. You all are the ones who make the difference in this country. And no matter what, I trust you all will make the right decision. And I'd like to thank you all for affording me the time to speak. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Dr. McConkey.
I've said this before. I was Steve Bannon on War Room. Okay? At this level, policy failures end up in body bags. Okay? With 22 years of service in the trenches of America's emergency rooms, as a commander of the United States military and a combat service member, these things are personal to me. This stuff matters. Leadership matters. Service matters. This campaign, this is about security, safety, and service. All right? Worst economic issue, I'm 46 years old. You talk economic security, worst inflation since I've been alive. Border security, I think we've hammered that one home here tonight. Safety for our children, for our families. We have to stop the flow of illegal drugs. And service to this country. I need all of your help. I need you to join me. Go to joshmcconkey.com. I need you. President Trump needs you. God bless North Carolina. May he continue to bless these United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McConkey. Mr. Von Loor.
As a blue-collar citizen and an entrepreneur, I feel your pain as a blue-collar worker and as a CEO. But you need a fighter in D.C., not a yes man, that is going to bend the knee to the establishment, to the uniparty, because those are the people who are running our country right now. I am here, again, running because I believe in the promise of America. America was not built by the elite. It was built by farmers. It was built by people with humble beginnings. But when we send rich men from North Carolina to north of Richmond, they change. And that's what you need to do. You need to vote, because if you don't vote, you don't matter. And that's the reality. And we need to change that. We need to take money out of politics and take care of our neighbors, each other. And we need to stop sending the money to Ukraine. That is not our war. We need to protect our people, our borders, and our homeless, our veterans, because that's what America is.
Thank you very much, Mr. Van Loor. Mr. Knott.
Thank you, John. And again, thank you to everybody who's here tonight. From a broad perspective, I think it's easy to slip into a realm of discouragement. In my lifetime, the world has slipped further than I would have ever imagined. Currently, inflation is ravaging our opportunities. We have 20% less buying power than we did 3 years ago. Crime is being celebrated. The border is wide open. It feels like we're losing at every corner. But let me leave you with this. The American people feel it. There is a tremendous opportunity for truth and for conservatism. The American people know that solutions are not going to come with Joe Biden's party. They know that with Joe Biden's party, there will not be fewer taxes, fewer regulations, more common sense at the border, more common sense with criminal justice. They know that conservatives are the vehicles that solutions will arrive in. So let me encourage you, we have a tremendous opportunity. We have real problems, yes, but with truth, with boldness, and with the grace of Almighty God, we can turn this country around. So dig in, join the fight, and let's look forward to an optimistic future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. Mr. Dellinger.
I really could have used this extra 30 seconds at my intro, by the way, because I made the closing a little bit short. We are all aware of the issues in front of us. Although a lot of these problems are big and they are complex, as Matt was saying, I believe that if the people in this room got together, we could probably fix most of the issues that are in front of us. It wouldn't really take us that long. We might disagree on methodology and how exactly to do it, but we all want the same thing in the long run. And that's for America to return to her former glory that we all know it's capable of. So again, my name is Marcus Dellinger, running for U.S. House of Representatives, District 13. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dellinger. Ms. Daughtry.
Thank you. So I've been listening to all these good folks, and I know you have. And if you've listened to them, we all sort of agree on the same thing. The border, it's a problem. We've got to fix it. We've got to secure the border. We all know that. The economy, it's a problem. We've got to fix it. We all know that. Our foreign policy, it's a problem. We've got to fix it. We know that. All of us, every one of these folks up here have pretty much said the same thing. We are all conservative Republicans. I want you to think about, the reason I am running is I have worked with families, thousands of families. And the reason I'm running is because I see the problems that they have. And that is what has just made me want to run. I'm not running because this is what I want to do. I want to leapfrog to another position. I'm not running to do something after this. I want to go to DC. I want to represent this district only. I've signed term limits. When it's over, I'm coming back to this district. I'm leaving my dogs and 2 horses here. So I can promise you that I will be here. I want to help families, and I think this is the best way to do it. I'm at a point in my life where I have the ability to do it, I want to do it, and I ask for your support. I'm Kelly Daughtry. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daughtry. Mr. Barbour.
Thank you. Again, thank you, Ms. Sandy, Ms. Beverly, Western Wake Republican Club. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Thank you, John, for doing a great job moderating. Cannot wait to see you on a ballot soon.
Wait a little longer, yes.
All right. And thank you, Ms. Heather, for keeping us on time. That's yeoman's work. My name's DeVan Barbour. And if you don't remember anything else about DeVan Barbour tonight, I want you to remember one thing. I'm from here, and I'm for here. This is personal to me. This is my home. This is where I grew up. We live on a family farm just outside of Benson. It's where I'm raising my kids. They go to public schools here. It's where our business is headquartered. This is where we're coming back every weekend while we serve as your congressman, weekday. I'm running here because I want to represent home. And I want to secure the border. I want to cut spending. I want to fight inflation. But I also want to do something that nobody talked about tonight. This is a rural district. And Biden's reckless ag regulations are crushing our farmers, and they're driving our price of food through the roof. I know that. I see it every day. I want to go and I want to fight for you. I want to be proactive on the chaos that's coming. And I want to represent you with honor, dignity, and the conservative principles and values that we all hold dear. My name's DeVan Barbour. I would appreciate your prayers and your consideration for your support to be your next congressman.
Thank you, Mr. Barbour. Mr. Baker.
See, I'm kind of like DeVan. I grew up instead of on a farm, but at a truck stop right off 95. So when you show up at a truck stop, you meet people from all walks of life. You meet people from up north, from down south, people that are wealthy, people that are poor. And right outside that truck stop was a trailer park. I grew up at a trailer park. You see drugs coming in. You see prostitution. You see a lot of things that go on in this world that just needs to be taken care of. I mean, we need to help people, get people on the right way of life and going in the right direction. So I've got a college degree in IT security from North Carolina school. I'm a commercial truck driver. And when you drive a truck, you've got a dispatcher. And a dispatcher, what they'll do is they give you a plan of what you need to do. You may take different routes to get there, but you still get there. Like I said, when you're from the district, you owe yourself to represent the people in the district. And one thing I will say is this. Trump and a truck driver would be a lot better to represent you. Thank you. My name is Chris Baker, and I hope you vote for me.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Let's give all these candidates one last big round of applause. And thank you guys for being here tonight. Sandy?
Thank you so much. Can y'all stay seated for just a second? We're going to grab a couple of pictures of y'all. John, can you come stand with them too? Thank you. Stand back here. Sure. That's fine. All right, thank you. Thank you, appreciate it. Boy, these are some great candidates, and we really enjoyed I could tell you put your heart and soul into it, and we really appreciate all your answers and being here tonight and talking to all of us. So thank you so much. All right, we want to give John another round of applause and the candidates, and Heather. Thank you, Heather. All right, let's see. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move our chairs back to the table, please. And I'm going to give the candidate, have the candidate round up and have the candidates come up. And we were going to do a 1-minute speech, but I'm going to allow the other candidates to speak for 2 minutes. So feel free to come up and tell us what you're running for, your position, your website. Thank you. Come on up, Charles. Charles Dingy, up first. Yeah. Okay, there we go. All right. All right, Charles Dingy's up first.
Hey, by a show of hands, who here in this room thinks election integrity is important? So I guess I found the right group of people here. Well, did you all know that right now in North Carolina, there's almost 200,000 people that are registered to vote that do not have an ID number or a social security number? That is because the Board of Elections has not been audited in over a decade. Well, I'm Charles Dingy. I'm running to be your next state auditor, and I'm going to audit the State Board of Elections to find out how it is these people are voting if we don't know who they are and where they came from, because we need to have free and fair elections here in North Carolina. Now, a little about me. I am the only candidate in this race that is a lifelong grassroots Republican. There are people actively running in the race for state auditor that were Democrats in June of last year. There are plants trying to get you to vote for them as a Republican. You need to do your homework. Now, what you can do to help me, you can go to my website. You can go to charlesdingy.com. You can learn more about me there. I'll leave you all with this. I'm Charles Dingy, and I'll be stingy with your money.
Thank you, Charles. Next up is Becky Allen.
Hi, my name is Becky Allen, and I'm your conservative candidate for NC House District 36. I'm a Christian wife and mother, and that is what has driven me to run. I am up against Julie Von Hafen, who is incredibly liberal, and I am running to conserve the family values that we have in our district. I am running for safety. I back the blue. I want to focus on the future of our economy while preserving our past. And I want to build a bridge in education between parents and children and students, parents and teachers. And lastly, I also want to conserve our constitutional rights. I want to stand up for the Second Amendment, and our medical freedom and religious freedom as well. So I'm running again for District 36. Becky Allen, 4NC, the number 4, and you can check out my website and social media. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Now we have Luke Farley.
Hey folks, I'm Luke Farley, and I am your conservative candidate for North Carolina Labor Commissioner. Quick question. How many people think your employer should be able to fire you if you don't want to take the COVID vaccine? Anybody? Okay, hands never go up when I ask that question. That's a good thing, and I agree with you. Nobody should be required to take the COVID vaccine just to keep their job. That is not safe. That is tyranny. And as your labor commissioner, I will always, always stand with North Carolina's working men and women and their right to medical freedom. Now, this isn't just a bunch of empty political talk. You can go to my website, lukeforlabor.com. I'm the only candidate in this race with a written plan to protect workers' right to medical freedom. And it starts with this: enforcing the laws on the books. We don't need new laws or regulations. We need a labor commissioner with the backbone to stand with North Carolina's working men and women and protect their right to medical freedom. And I'm here to tell you I will be that next labor commissioner. I'm asking for your vote in the March primary. I'm Luke Farley. Vote Luke for Labor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Luke. Next up, we have Jacob Arthur.
Thank you, Sandy. My name is Jacob Arthur. I'm running for the Wake County Commission, District 6. I am a Wake County native. Ran for school board last go-around. Some of you may remember me. Wake County native, husband, father of 4 kids. This is important to me. This is my home. You know, for almost a decade, you have not had a single voice on the Board of Commissioners in Wake County. During that time, your property taxes have gone up almost every year. Who got their latest property valuations in Wake County? That's an additional property tax on top of the tax they just increased last year. Don't worry, they said they'll look into it for you. Public safety has continued to decline year over year. Year over year, public safety has declined. We've got almost 200 vacancies in the Wake County Sheriff's Department right now. That's got to be addressed. And I also want to look at accountability in public school funding. Your Wake County tax dollars go to the Wake County Public Schools, and it's a blank check of almost $600 million written every year with no accountability. It's funding DEI and CRT. So I'm Jacob Arthur. I'm running for Wake County Board of Commissioners, District 6. I would appreciate your vote. You can go to jacobarthurforwake.com. It's jacobarthurforwake.com. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jacob. Now we have Vicki Harry.
Hi, I'm Vicki Harry, and I'm running for the North Carolina Senate in District 13. I'm a proud conservative. I'm a born-again Christian, and I am here today because our Christian conservative values are being attacked on every side. And I have 3 kids that are married, and I have 9 grandkids, and their future is looking a little scary right now. And I'm here to fight for them, for my kids, for your kids, and for your grandkids. I want them to have the same life that I got to have and the same life that my kids have grown up in. I want them to have a great choice for their schools. I support school choice. I want to be here for the parents, because parents, they know best for their children, and I want them to have the opportunity to choose a school that's right for them. I used to be a teacher. I was a basketball coach, and I was a college athlete. So I am here for women. I'm here for women in sports. I'm here for women in business. I'm a small business owner. I own Thanks a Latte in Holly Springs and in Anger, and I love our community. I love the community that I live in, and I'd love to serve the people here in Holly Springs, Fuquay, and all the way up through the district. I also back the blue. I'm here for to help secure money for the police officers so that they can have a safe job and that they can provide safety for me, my family, and all of your families as well. So I'm Vicki Harry, and I'm running for Senate in District 13.
Thank you, Vicki. Next up, we have Robert Morales.
Good evening, District 2. Welcome to those Congress in our 2nd Congressional District, covering Raleigh and Cary. And today I'm very happy to announce that I'm officially a member of this club. So happy to be here. So I am officially voting in all your meetings, so I'm gonna be here. To those who doesn't know me, I'm a public servant. I'm a Hispanic. I've been living right now in Raleigh for some years, and I've been serving you through the city of Raleigh. I work for the city of Raleigh. I've been serving a lot of different nonprofit organizations, and especially the city of Raleigh. My priorities are different to all candidates. My priorities are cutting funding from different programs and allocating them to cancer, Alzheimer, and dementia research. I think it's time for Congress to start investing in our future. I think it's time for Congress to start investing in the American people. I am the first candidate who talked about homelessness. I remember when I came here and I talked about homelessness, securing our communities, and especially giving opportunity to people who are coming to this country legally. I think it's time to give opportunity to the people who came here doing the right thing. It's time to let them having voice and having people who represent them. For those who've been asking, hey, where your accent came from? My accent probably came from Puerto Rico, a U.S. territory in the Caribbean. Robert Morales, running for District 2. Very happy to be here, and welcome again to our district.
Thank you so much, Robert, and thank you for joining. I appreciate that. So we've got just a few quick announcements. Make sure you sign up for your upcoming region meetings to be a delegate at the county convention. For the Cary and Morrisville region, the meeting is here at Sophie's on February the 8th. For the Apex and Holly Springs region, it's February 25th at Pine Springs Preparatory Academy in Holly Springs. And see Karen Mulligan, if we probably have a list somewhere of the different meetings, or it's on the Wake GOP website. What's that? It will be. It'll be on the Wake GOP website real soon. Early voting is February the 15th through March 2nd, and we're working with the Republican women of Cary to have a table set up for 7 days, February 15th through 17th, 23 to 25, and March the 2nd, the last day. Please sign up for a slot. I believe we have sign-ups back here in the hallway. And primary election day is March the 5th. The Wake County Convention is March the 19th at the Expo Center. We'll have a booth at this convention, so please sign up. And we always have a great time at the convention. So those are the different sign-ups we have here in the hallway. Be sure to cover your tab tonight. Sophie's has been so gracious, and we really appreciate them. Thank you, Sophie's. Desi and Nellie and all the other waitresses and waiters. Thanks again to Stephen Lemieux for live streaming our event and taking all the pictures and everything. It's going to be available on our YouTube channel, I believe, after the event. high quality upload, and we'll send that out in an email. So make sure you sign up for the emails. Our next meeting is Monday, February 26th. Steve Noble will headline our meeting, and we'll hear from several council state candidates as well as other primary candidates. So that's Monday, February 26th. Be sure you have signed in so you'll get all our latest updates, and check out our website, join and follow our Facebook group, Twitter, Instagram, Truth Social, and now we have a YouTube account. So the meeting is now adjourned. Thanks so much for coming, and have a wonderful evening.